So, Tony, what is the placebo effect? And talk to us about some of these studies that have looked at it, because it's real. The one involving the veterans was just stunning, and the surgery they were doing, I think, on knees.
Yes, it's amazing. Well, first of all, most people don't realize the power of the mind to make you sick or to make you well. And in World War II, a surgeon who was very famous was trying to help people, and they're bleeding out. And so they needed morphine. Morphine keeps them from going to shock besides lowering the pain. And they ran out of morphine. And a nurse actually is really responsible for this, because the doctor was freaking out. And she said, I found some more. And I don't know why she did it, but she just gave him saline, and he thought it was an injection of morphine. So he had the total belief and told the patient, you'll be out of pain in a couple minutes or less. You're going to be fine. And he did it with each of them. Well, none of them went into shock, and 90% of them, the pain disappeared with no drugs being applied. And so when he went back to school after World War II to Harvard, he was the first person that started to make these studies that we basically do now. We compare drugs to a placebo, an inert substance, to see their value. What a lot of people don't know is oftentimes a placebo is more powerful than the drug, but you don't make billions of dollars sharing that information. And as you noted, placebos are affected by your level of certainty that something's going to happen. It's like our brain can heal itself. And so if we give you a small pill, you get a bigger reaction if I give you a big pill. If I give you a shot, even bigger reaction in terms of healing and speed. And the one that's most powerful, Megyn, you just alluded to, is what some people call a sham surgery, but it's a placebo surgery. So the Veterans Administration decided with arteriosclerosis, or not arteriosclerosis, with knee pain or knee challenges, that they would do a third of the people where they would cut them open and do nothing and just sew them back up. So they would think they had the surgery. And a year later, the Veterans Administration stopped funding those types of surgeries, because a year later, to a man and to a woman, the people who had no surgery claimed they had no pain, that they had extraordinary flexibility, versus the ones who had the surgery. A large number of them still had pain and challenges. So literally that changed. But it's even more powerful than that, Megyn. Harvard did a study where they didn't use placebos. They used real drugs. So they handed somebody a large red pill and said, this is an amphetamine. Your body's going to speed up. You should be prepared for it. And they actually gave them a barbiturate, which would slow you through the floor. Wow. Every person exploded through the roof as if they'd given amphetamine. And then they reversed it with a blue pill and did the other piece. It sounds like a movie, but they do this. Dr. Langer, who's kind of one of the co-founders of mindfulness at Harvard, is a friend of mine. And she's done these studies where you see changes, like they go to people and take a group of people in their 70s and take them off for 2 weeks on this little journey to the Catskills. And they inform them everything is from 35 years earlier. The imagery, the television shows, everything. And they inform them talking first person as if it was 35 years later or earlier. What's amazing is after 2 weeks of this experience, they measured all their vitals before and afterwards. And the first thing happens, their eyesight improved. The second thing that improved is blood pressure dropped massively from the high blood pressure most of them did. Blood sugars balanced, and they looked younger. And there are all these studies also about how we make ourselves sick with our mind. I had the privilege of meeting a man named Norman Cousins. Probably not many people know his name now, but he was really one of the fathers of psychoneuroimmunology, which is the study of how your brain, psycho, affects your immune system. And he was diagnosed with a deadly disease. And for whatever reason, he did not want to use the drugs that were available. They had large side effects. And he decided that he thought his immune system would be stimulated if he wasn't in pain. And the way out of pain was to laugh. And so he would go spend, when he had this pain, 2-3 hours watching these old, silly movies and laugh his guts out. And ironically, what happened, science has now shown it, is he cured himself of the disease, he got out of the pain, but most importantly, he wrote a book called Anatomy of an Illness, which kind of launched this form of study around the world. There are buildings dedicated to him at UCLA now. But this man told me, I interviewed him when I was 24. There were no podcasts then. I had this cassette tape program that I used to share with people. I'd interview people. And he told me a story. He says, Tony, not only can we make ourselves healthy, but make ourselves sick, but we can make our own fears viral to affect other people's health. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'll give you an example. He said, you know how you yawn, and he said, don't yawn. You find yourself yawning, or somebody's laughing hysterically. It's not that funny, but they're having such a good time, you find yourself laughing. That's viral. It's psychological viral. He said, I went to a game, a college football game, and he said, here's what happened. He said a person got really sick and were literally projectile vomiting, and they're in the stands. So people are kind of trying to get out of the way. They call the doctor. The doctor is trying to diagnose what happened, trying to find out what's different in this man's regimen. Was it food poisoning? And he found out he'd gone to the vending machine and drank a Coca-Cola. And so the doc, just thinking, well, that's the only thing that's different. Maybe the thing is poisonous. Maybe there's some kind of chemicals that have gotten into it. So they made an announcement over the airwaves in the middle of halftime to everyone to avoid the vending machines because they may be poisonous. Well, he said, Tony, it was like a movie. He said projectile vomiting started happening within 5 to 20 minutes all over the place. 12 ambulances going to 2 different hospitals, taking people, shuttling people back and forth. An hour and a half later, they did tests and found out there was nothing wrong with the vending machine. And they told everybody, and everybody got well. And so I'll give you the last piece, the CDC. When I put this in, everything in my book is documented. It's none of it is my opinion again, but it sounds ridiculous. The CDC, what are people most scared about right now? COVID-19 and dying of it. Now, the number one factor obviously is age, somebody in their 80s, because their immune system is often suppressed at that stage. But outside that, the number one factor most people know today is obesity, something we can actually do something about. 79.8, call it 80% of the people that have died are obese. There's all kinds of comorbidities that come with that make your body weaken. But you know what number 2 is? According to the CDC, fear and anxiety is the number 2 thing that will cause you to die, because when you're afraid, you shut down your immune system. When you're afraid, it changes your heart rate, can make an irregular heart rate. It changes your breathing. It changes your oxygenation. So unfortunately, in our media, and media people, they're doing their best job they can. They're not trying to harm anyone. They're trying to inform people. But we all know if it bleeds, it leads. And so, the death rates constantly in front of you has created so much fear. And that is, according to CDC, a factor that we want to avoid at all costs.
Oh, yeah. The cable news model, and actually I can say firsthand, broadcast as well, is to upset you. That's what will get you to tune in, either anger you or upset you. And, it's funny, Tony, because I'm listening to you talk. My mom's mom died at almost 101. And,
wow.
Wait, she was 101. Yeah, she was 101. Anyway, she was overweight. She never exercised a day in her life. She ate terribly, only processed food. Nothing fresh or healthy. And I was thinking of myself, and she was kind of stressed out for parts of her life. So I'm like, well, I don't get it. But you know what? She laughed. She was funny, and she was quick to laugh, and she was quick to make others laugh. And I'm listening to you thinking, I finally get it.
Well, I interviewed a woman named Alice Summers. At this time, she was the oldest living survivor of the Holocaust. I think she was 108 at the time I interviewed her. Living on her own, Megyn, swimming every day, playing the piano. This is a woman who was a very famous pianist in Europe. And during World War II, when Hitler, she was Jewish, took her family, killed everybody except her son, and used her son as the hostage to say, you are going to perform for us, because they made these films, the Nazis did, to try and make it look like they were treating, Jews well. And we're going to kill your son in front of you if you don't look healthy, if you don't look happy, and if you don't play well. So imagine going through all of that and then surviving the Holocaust. And by the way, the music was the escape for not only her, but all the people listening, in the camp. They talked about it. And the people in her apartment still listened to her play the piano. But she went through all those things, and everything was beautiful to her. The microphone was beautiful. I was beautiful. My wife was beautiful. What we're talking about is beautiful. And I really believe that it's a giant part, biochemically, of what makes somebody be able to manage through all the stresses we have. Because we're all going to have extreme stress. We're all going to have times. I don't care.
But there are people sitting there right now listening to this who don't have the power of positive thinking like a Tony Robbins. And they're like, I can't. I'm genuinely stressed out. I know I shouldn't be stressed out. It's like, I've been told I have cancer and you want me to not be stressed. And I'm more stressed than ever. And I can't de-stress because no matter what I try to tell myself, I know the cancer's still there. That's what's stressing me.
Yeah. Well, I still have the tumor inside my head as well.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.